All right, folks, we're back live. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to go to your phone calls, and I've got a lot of other really important news that we're going to be covering as well, like what really happened in India in Mumbai. Oh, yes, it is a staged terror attack, but a more sophisticated type attack, not a purely state-sponsored attack. The Pakistani government is basically coming out with the same analysis that I put out Friday. The Russian government is saying the same thing. And so later we'll be getting into that. You see, Pakistani intelligence was set up by the British intelligence. This is mainline history, ISI. And the ISI was allowed to then get nuclear weapons through the United States, Israel, and Britain. That's right. Google, the U.S. helped Pakistan get nukes, or Google, Israel helped them get nukes. You'll get BBC, you'll get AP, you'll get Reuters. Going back about 15 years ago, back when Bill Clinton first got into office, and then right through George Bush, the outgoing president, because these guys are just puppets and carry out what their globalist masters tell them. Why would the globalists want to give nukes to Pakistan? Well, because they want to have a strategy of tension and have India and Pakistan at each other's throats over the disputed Kashmir region. Now, something happened. There was another coup in the West put in Pervez Musharraf 8 years ago. And then about 9 months ago, he was finally thrown out as basically a dictator. And they did elect a government. And that government said, by the way, these terrorist forces that are in our country, they were trained in Afghanistan in the 1970s and 80s to fight the Russians. They worked for British and U.S. intelligence. We want them out. And those very same radical forces in the last 9 months, since the new government's been in power, have bombed the government buildings, have bombed government meetings, have blown up hotels, have tried to kill the Pakistani government. Remember, in the last 9 months, every week or two, hearing about huge bombings in Pakistan where the Taliban, where Al-Qaeda was trying to kill the Pakistani government, and then our government, Bush, and now Obama, get up on the news and claim Pakistan, the government, is working with the very people that are attacking them, trying to kick them out? See, the ISI works for the Western intelligence. The ISI is staging terror attacks trying to topple the Pakistani government, so the United States has a pretext to come into Pakistan. Now, what have I been saying the last month since Joe Biden came out and said there will be a big international test for Obama? And people said, what's he talking about? Economic? And I said, no, it's going to be Pakistan. I said this last week. I said it 2 weeks ago. I said it a month ago. It will be Pakistan. Watch for staged terror attacks in and around Pakistan or in India to be blamed on the Pakistani government. And now, what did you see happen? Now, are these real Muslim terrorists? Are these complete nutballs that would, all these commandos, as many as 50 of them, showing up in Mumbai, the financial capital of India, where the Taj Mahal is located, running around for 3 days, killing more than 300 people? Throwing hand grenades? Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, they are real terrorists. And they believe in those camps that they are fighting for Islam. They believe they're fighting the West. They believe they're fighting their mortal enemy, the Hindus. But then when you go and look at who's funding them, it's ISI and U.S., British/Israeli intelligence. So I said I'd get into this later. I guess I'm getting into it now. Then we'll go to Mike, Joshua, Mike, David, Jaja, Ian, George, and others that are patiently holding. But later I'm also going to play a clip, if we have time, from international television discussing this. But the head foreign minister and the head intelligence chief in Pakistan are saying that it is here's the Pakistan Times, Mumbai mayhem conspiracy to hit nuke, Gul says, Islamabad. The Inter Services Intelligence Chief, Hamid Gul, said that the Mumbai incident is an international-based conspiracy to deprive Pakistan of its atomic power. And then he goes into saying everything I've just said. Now, he said this yesterday, Friday, I went on air. I was going to take off Friday, but I went on air in the first hour. It's archived at Infowars.com, and I said exactly what's here. Why? Because it's the truth. Why would Pakistan, who's being bombed by the Al-Qaeda groups, the real Al-Qaeda, Western-controlled, Western-founded, why on earth would they go attack India when they're doing everything they can to not have another war with India? They're doing everything they can to avert near nuclear war in 2002 they already almost had. And then magically, fighters out of Pakistan get into Mumbai in India and blow the living daylights out of the capital city. Terrorize the public. This happens over and over and over again. And it's been in the Jerusalem Post, it's been in Haras, it's been in the Israeli papers over and over again, that the Israeli government will hire Arab agents who will go out and recruit young Palestinians and then pay them to stage terror attacks. Now, that's not Alex Jones saying that. That is the Jerusalem Post and Haras. Now, what came out in AP, Reuters, BBC, Der Spiegel last Monday? We wrote a story about it up at prisonplanet.com. The Kosovoans were happy to have the West come in and steal that away from Serbia and give it to the Muslims. But now the Muslims and the Serbs want the West, predominantly Germany, the main force for NATO, in Kosovo, southern Serbia, now broken off, basically given to Albania. They want them out. So the Germans were caught. This is mainstream news. This is admitted for listeners. Do not be lazy. Do not choose to just say I'm lying. Go pull it up. Google it. Hundreds of papers reported this because other NATO forces caught them. No, all the NATO forces aren't terrorists. Select groups. German intelligence was caught machine gunning and hand grenading government buildings, NATO buildings, blaming it on the Kosovoans so that they would have a pretext to move in with a larger force. And so they would have a pretext to stay in the country. And then there was another case where the Polish government this week came out and said, yes, when we were in South Ossetia on a diplomatic mission, the Georgians, who, by the way, they're allied with, ran a sneak attack on them, trying to blame it on the Russians. And the Russians do the same thing, too. They've been caught blowing stuff up before and blaming it on their enemies. The point is, it's so much more sophisticated than what the media tells you. It's so much more sophisticated than the way they lay it out there and present it. Governments throughout history. Listen, we wrote a story a few months ago when it came out on WikiLeaks, got picked up by major newspapers around the world. The Army admitted it was real, but said they want to find out who released it because they want to arrest them. The Army released the 2000, it was leaked, the 2004 Army Manual. And we have copies of it. It's up on the site. We have links to it. You can read the Army Manual and the Army Manual number. And it says it teaches Army captains in Black Ops and Special Operations. No, the general Army captains aren't taught this. It's all compartmentalized. That's how evil operates. Most of the troops are the best people in the world. They're great, hard-working, brave, incredible people. But the Army captains, they psychologically test, who they put through Black Ops, who they decide are immoral, or, quote, will do the end justifies the means. They give them an Army training manual that tells them to create staged terror attacks, false flag attacks, how to stage bombing attacks in the third world to blame it on their political enemies. The U.S. did this in Vietnam. And my point is, they do this over and over again. And the argument is, okay, well, the Russians do it, we've got to do it. You know, we've got to have every tool at our disposal. Well, see, once you allow that, just like Operation Northwoods, ABC News headline, U.S. government plan to attack U.S. cities as pretext for war. Operation Northwoods, hijack jets, bomb D.C., commit sniper attacks, how to frame patsies, have mass shootings on the streets like Mumbai. Operation Northwoods, Google that. ABC News, Baltimore Sun, Associated Press. You see, I'm just reporting to you here what's mainstream, but it's hidden in the back of the paper. Okay? All right, I promise. Calls for the next segment into the next hour, and we'll get to everybody when we come back. Stay with me.